Hi there, librarians. My name's Carson Grubaugh. I'm the co-author and co-illustrator of Dave Sims' The Strange Death of Alex Raymond, as well as the creator of a new 5-issue mini-series, The Abolition of Man. It's the world's first entirely AI-illustrated comic book. So really appreciate you having me. Thanks for joining me in my studio. It's not the most exciting studio. It's really more of an office, but comics are getting made in here nonetheless. Most recently, I've been taking advantage of these new AI art generators, image generators, whatever you want to call them, and created the world's first entirely AI illustrated comic book series, The Abolition of Man. This series is an experiment with and commentary on this exciting and distressing new tech. It's very easy to use, so while I'm talking, I'm going to go play a demo of how it works. And you'll see an export of one of the images being made as well, a video. So throughout the process of promoting Abolition of Man, a lot of people argued that the AI, they explained that they thought that all the AI was doing was trolling the internet for tagged photos and then mechanically bashing what it learned together to produce these images. And these folks seem to think that this fact of how the AI works made it inherently not creative. As far as I can tell, they are also describing human creativity. We trawl the world for information, we learn from it, and we bash it all up in our subconscious. And if we're lucky, out will pop a spark of inspiration. So if the AI do not meet the criteria for creativity, then I'm worried that human beings may not either, or the idea of what counts as creativity may finally be losing its appearance of magic as it's downgraded into something scientifically explicable. The AIs may be giving us the information we need to understand creative image making and understand our own uh, neurobiology as well, potentially. If you watch an AI make one of these images, as we are here, you can see that it's using a similar process to what I believe is the basis for most, if not all, human creativity, which is pareidolia, which, if you go to Wikipedia, the definitions, the tendency for perception to impose a meaningful interpretation on a nebulous stimulus is usually visual so that one sees object, pattern, or meaning where there is none. Basically, the ability to pull signal from noise. That's what we do. We're information-seeking animals. We have a world full of data. It's noisy as hell, and we gotta pull a signal out of that. We're pareidolia machines, I believe. This is how the AI works. You can see it here. When they train it, they use a neural network training process called diffusion models. The best I understand it is that the AIs are trained with these tagged images, and then the images are slowly made more and more noisy. This allows the AI to learn to reverse the process, so they can give it a seed that's completely noisy, and using the prompt, it will start looking for, okay, it's told me it wanted a cat, and I kind of know what a cat looks like, and then the composition and everything will be pulled out of the noise. And here you can see Midjourney pulling a new response to the prompt that all I put in was the abolition of man, and I gave it an aspect ratio, which this is how the cover to the first issue of Abolition of Man was made, and how all of the images throughout the series were made, just through this prompt system. But you can see it pulling the image out of the noise, reversing the stable diffusion process. So this tech has convinced me that we humans at root really are pareidolia machines. And that relates to the other major work that I've had the pleasure of being associated with, Dave Sims' The Strange Death of Alex Raymond. This book has been rightfully criticized for being extremely dense with like rabbit trail and kind of conspiracy theory textual over interpretation. In the book, Dave presents some things that are facts, undeniable facts. Alex Raymond, the creator of the Rip Kirby comic strip, worked with writer editor Ward Green, who was the editor. He was the editor in chief of the King Feature Syndicate dealing with the comic strips. Ward Green was associated with William Seabrook and Aleister Crowley and was interested in and practiced with them occult mysticism. Green, on the record, shared a long friendship with Margaret Mitchell, and on the record wanted to produce a Gone with the Wind comic strip for King Features and was never given that right. Stan Drake, the artist of The Heart of Juliet Jones, whose car Alex Raymond was driving when he got in a crash and died, has stated on the record that The Heart of Juliet Jones, the seed of that idea came from a script that was coerced out of Margaret Mitchell by Ward Green. So those are some of the facts, many others in the book, but some of the verifiable facts that are in the book. Dave goes from there, he engages in pareidolia, and then sees textual connections and resonances to a lot of instances throughout the history of comics, as well as the history of the world, and future. This impact he sees goes forwards and backwards. And he comes to the conclusion that among many other things that were going on, Ward Green was using the Rip Kirby comic strip as a tool for performing acts of black magic, occult magic, and that these did have real world impact. One of the things that he believes Ward Green was trying to do was to use this black magic to blackmail Margaret Mitchell into getting the rights to Gone with the Wind and or getting a script out of her, which is supposedly the seed for The Heart of Julia Jones. When people read this, the book seems to them, oftentimes it seems like something like this. But I don't think that makes it any less worthy as a piece of meaning making. In fact, I think its singular nature makes it more compelling and more meaningful and more valuable, especially now that we have these AI and they're pushing us towards a visual average of the collective subconscious of all human image production. And in the face of that, we're going to need more singular, idiosyncratic, fringe human production. In Why Are Our Pictures Puzzles? On the Modern Origins of Pictorial Complexity, art theorist James Elkin provides examples of what he believes are instances of wild overinterpretation of images in art historical scholarship and art theoretical scholarship. One of them is an analysis of Malaise the Angelus by Salvador Dali, who was obsessed with this piece, made paintings based on it, and wrote this essay. I'll just read some of it because it's long and rambly, but he's talking about this. Pitchfork is plunged into the earth, I said, with that greedy intentionality of fecundity appropriate to the delectable incisions of the surgical knife during this dissection of any corpse which, as everyone knows, is under diverse analytical pretext, secretly only looking for the synthetic, fertile, and nourishing potato of death. Constant dualism stems from this, felt throughout all ages, a sort of plowed earth nutrition, a table for eating, the plowed earth nourishing itself from that manure as sweet as honey, which is nothing but the authentic, ammoniacal, necrophiliac desires, a dualism that finally brings us to consider the plowed earth, especially when worsened by the twilight, like the beast-laden dissection table, which among all others offers us the most appetizing prime cadaver. This corpse is seasoned with that fine and imponderable truffle that is only found in nutritive dreams, and it just kind of goes on like that. This is, like all the other examples in Elkin's books, something that he believes is written using all of the tools and conforming to all of the rules of art historical and art theoretical methods for interpretation. So Elkins is arguing that if we take examples such as Dali's essay to be problematic instances of overinterpretation, then we've got to reassess the tools themselves. If the tools don't stop us from going too far, then the tools are broken. So art history and art critical theory of interpretation need to be relooked at. Similarly, if Strange Death is to be criticized as the work of a schizophrenic going down 12 rabbit holes too many, we may need to reevaluate the entire history of creative activity and find a new ground for it in something other than pareidolia. If pareidolia is broken and can lead to a work that we think is, the schizophrenic ramblings or something like that, then something's wrong with pareidolia. We need to fix the tool. Throw in the AI, having recently exposed this as the essential ingredient for creativity, and I'm trying to figure out what we do with that. Maybe we can accept that we are not much more than pareidolia machines and lean into that and just find that act of finding meaning where there is none to be essential to us. And in a godless, meaningless, absurdist universe, what could really be more human than that? We're just going to have to accept that sometimes those moments of pareidolia get more complex than we're used to. And that's not schizophrenic, whatever. It's just this is a more complex, more engaged version of everything else that we're doing. And if the AI are going to start doing this as well, then we need to learn how to work with them. I have no idea what this is going to mean for us even 6 months from now, because the tech is changing every week or so. One practice I've already engaged in is to try and collaborate with the AI. I've had it generate some noise for me, and then I'll use my own pattern seeking abilities to try and find meaning in the jumble. So here's an image I generated with Midjourney. I'm doing some extra stuff to it in Photoshop to both add more order and more chaos to it, translating it into cyan line art, printing out that blue line image, sitting down at my desk, blaring some good music, getting my brush out, and just going crazy. This process allowed me to engage in automatic drawing driven by pareidolia, and the chaos of the manipulated AI image, gave me something to latch onto. So this is two pareidolia machines with different training sets collaborating to make something new out of the debris of our collective past experience. Now, is this drawing I made a new meaningful signal, or is it merely new noise? I don't know. I wasn't sitting there trying to say anything. I was just finding stuff in the mess that the AI made. So when I look at it, it's just, kind of some random images. It doesn't seem particularly meaningful to me. But that's not to say that these processes can't lead to something beautiful and enjoyable or meaningful in a different way than pure semantic meaning. But nor do I know, what the future of human art making and meaning making activities in the face of AI technologies will be. That title's a total red herring. I do believe that we're facing an oncoming content apocalypse, and I think this teaches us the devastatingly banal lesson that all we are doing, have ever done, and ever will do is create more noise to be interpreted. Yet here we are laboring under this sun, so we might as well enjoy our labors. If you find this unacceptable, this idea that we're just meaning-making machines laboring under the sun and we better learn to enjoy it, I'll leave you with this thought and a question. Please consider the words of the founder of my fictional company, Hodtech, which is central to issues 2 and 3 of the Abolition of Man. In a world where there is nothing new under the sun, choose to change the sun. So please consider that. And if you have an answer to the following question, I would love to hear it. How would you change the sun? I would love to hear your answer to that question, because I think that's the most important question facing us as a society, and not just in the face of the AI stuff. How do we change the sun? I would love to hear your answer. So anyways, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. I hope you can get and enjoy both of those books. Really, thank you for listening. Have a great day.